Okay, and then let's look at the last theorem of this chapter of 1.5. And this is basically what I just described. Okay, but there are a few points that we can look at in more detail. So here, let's read through this theorem. We have this equation, okay? But we are supposing, or we are assuming, so the initial assumption is that this guy is consistent for some particular b vector. So the initial situation is that we are given a and b here, okay? And also, we know this guy is consistent. So at least this guy will have at least one solution, right? So that means b is within our span of the column of matrix A, right? So B is, so B is inside of the span of the column, right? So that we can represent B as a linear combination of columns of A, okay? So that was the meaning of having at least one solution for this equation. Okay, and then here's another assumption. So someone already gave you one solution for this equation, right? So fortunately, we didn't need to obtain a solution, but someone gave only one solution, okay? So in this case, we basically solve this homogeneous linear system where we set this guy into 0, okay? And then it will give some forms like this, right? Without this part, right? And then we know this part will remain the same between these two versions of a linear system. And that part indicating a line or plane and so on. So that is actually this guy, VH. So that is something like x3 times 2, 0, minus 1 or something like that, which indicates some kind of a slope of our solution. Okay? And then in order to completely obtain the solution for this guy, we can simply add this guy with a particular solution that someone gave us already, okay? So in that case, so this will be our final solution for this guy, okay? Just like this. So, so we have to solve what is our slope for the solution of this guy, okay? So in the case of the equation for the line, so we have to first determine the slope and the intersect, okay? But at the same time, it can be also represented in this form. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with this guy, but y minus y1 equals a times x minus x1, right? So you guys know this, the meaning of this, right? So it's actually telling us the slope of the vector, slope of this line is a, and then also additional information is that this line passed through x1 comma y1, right? So here this part is corresponding to this guy, but we are handling much higher dimension of space. So our slope is not just a single number. So here a is just a single number. Slope is 3 or 5 minus 1 and so on. So they are all scalar, but since we are dealing with a much higher dimension of vector space, our slope is actually indicating us some direction, which is represented as vector instead of just a scalar. right? So that vector indicating the slope is this guy, right? But it's actually basically the same. So we have to come up with the slope and also one point that this line is passing through, right? So we obtain the slope information from the homogeneous linear system, and then someone gave us one point that our line has to pass through, and then we can form this equation completely, right? So that corresponds to this guy, okay? So we can just simply add this vector at the end, okay? And then it will work as this guy, x minus x1 and y minus y1. So it's x1 and y1 is one point that this line is passing through. But in the case of vector form, this is our slope, then this another one vector, okay, that is on the line, okay. But this guy is actually coming from this vector b, from the non-homogeneous version of the system, okay. So this theorem is a little bit a hypothetical scenario. So it's like a little bit easier situation. So usually no one gives you any information about your solution, about the solution of your system of AX equals B. So you have to completely find out what the P is and this slope thing is, or VH part, right? But suppose, so yeah, kind of potential exam question, okay? So I think I gave one question based on this theorem. So I gave you one point passing through or satisfying that the AX equals B, okay? And then I gave you the echelon form, reduced echelon form of the AX equals 0. Okay? And then you can easily create or obtain this form, right, from the homogeneous linear system, right, from the reduced echelon form. Okay? And then my question for that exam question was that I asked you students to write the complete solution for AX equals B. And then it didn't need any calculation. So you could just simply add up these two parts, right? Since I gave you one solution already from the exam, right? So at that time, yeah, if I remember correctly, so if a student actually solved AX equals, the solution for AX equals B from the beginning without the information that I gave, and then I actually decreased the point. Yeah, so yeah, it's that much important to have like this kind of high level understanding about these kind of concepts. Okay. So yeah, again, this kind of linear algebra thing, although you had to do a lot of computations, like computing the echelon form and reduced echelon form from your homework, but linear algebra is really not about those kind of computations. So although, yeah, so that you guys can train, I gave you those kind of like a mechanical computation type of homework. But the main important part that you should know is not that one. Okay, so you really have to have like clear and conceptual understanding about how all these work. Okay. Yeah. The reason is because all these echelon form and row reduced echelon form and things like that is easily done by the computer by just one single line. So yeah, computer is already better than that than us. Okay. So yeah, computer is better at these kind of computation than us already. So yeah, we don't need to spend our own time in computing those. Okay. Okay, that's it for chapter 1.5. Then we will jump to chapter 1.7 and we skip chapter 1.6, which is about one kind of application using this linear system. So today we will learn about this linear independence, linear dependence and independence, and again those things are already related. So somehow you guys are already familiar with this kind of concept from thinking about this this kind of geometric meanings. Okay, so let's see. So linear independence. So let's look at the definition. So we are given a set of vector v1 through vp. Okay, so that is not an empty set. So we do not usually consider just an empty set because it doesn't make sense whether an empty set of vectors. So we have no vectors at all. So we cannot even think about whether they are linearly independent or dependent, right? So we assume that this is a kind of non-empty set. So we are at least given one vector or multiple vectors, of course. And in that case, so these vectors are linearly independent if this vector equation that we have already seen many times has only the trivial solution. Okay, so this vector equation, since we learned about the matrix equation, which is just not just a simply kind of compact form of this vector representation, so we can change it to a matrix equation in this form. XP, right? So in this case, so this is a vector, right? Although I just wrote it as one single notation, but these are the vectors coming from these guys, right? And then those linear combination coefficients, or our variables to solve, is forming one column vector, right? So it should be zero vector, right? So this is just AX equals 0, which is a homogeneous linear system, right? Which we just learned in the previous chapter. So this linear independence or dependence, they are closely related to this homogeneous linear system. Okay? And then from this linear system or this homogeneous linear system, we learned that this one has always the solution, right? Because if we just plug in all zeros into this x1 through xp, so if we set these as all zeros, and then we always satisfy this equation, right? So that way we at least have one solution, and that solution is really easy one and thus very trivial, right? So it's just a trivial solution, very easy solution. So that's why we call that as a trivial solution. But this can have more solutions sometimes, right? So it's not always. So it can have more solutions, meaning that this guy has infinitely many solutions because we can, there's only two possible cases, right? So what was that case? So when we have which variables? Free variables, So if we have a free variable, and then it means it's not just the solution is not just a trivial solution, which is just all zeros. It will have more solutions, and other solutions, or these more solutions, will of course not be all zeros, right? It will have some non-zeros, right? And that non-zero, I mean, if that kind of a non-zero solution exists, I mean, in that case, we call these vectors are linearly dependent. Okay, so when that guy, AX equals 0, has free variable, and then it means it will have more solutions other than all zeros, right? And then it also means, so it's exactly the same thing as saying these vectors of v1 through vp, those are linearly dependent. Okay? And otherwise, let's think about the other case, which is really easy. So there is no free variable, and thus there is only one solution, setting all these as 0. Okay? If that's the case, and then these vectors, v1 through vp, are linearly independent. Okay, so yeah, so that's all for this definition of a linearly independent and dependent. So if they are linearly dependent, and then there exist weights like these, which are not completely zero, which corresponds to our non-trivial solution. Okay, that satisfies this equation. Okay. Okay, so let's look at this example. So the question is we have to determine whether these three vectors that we are given are linearly independent or dependent. Okay, so that's the main question that we kind of have to solve in this chapter. So it's really simple. Yeah, so it's also boiling down to this boring reduced echelon form again. But we form this matrix, which is our matrix A. Okay, and then change it to the echelon form, and then we see if there is a free variable or not. Okay, that is all that we have to do here to determine whether these three vectors are linearly independent or dependent. Right? So if the staircase shape was okay, let's think about one matrix like this. Okay, and then if the staircase was formed in this way, and then every column had a pivot, and then please allow me to say this once again. So in this case, as we add one vector at a time, so each vector is not part of the previous vector or the span of the previous vector, right? So that way, every column has its own pivots, right? So if the staircase turns out to be this case or this shape, then it means we only have, so in this case, it will have only one solution for all zeros in the case of homogeneous linear system of AX equals 0, right? So in that case, those three vectors are linearly independent. Okay? But if the staircase has this kind of shape, something like this, okay? So in that case, this guy, the third vector, is unfortunately part of the span of the previous two vectors, right? So in that case, they are, so altogether, V1, V2, and V3 are linearly dependent. Okay? The set as a whole is linearly dependent. So intuitive understanding about this linearly dependent or linearly independent is exactly the same as those things. So we add one vector at a time, and then if at some point if one vector is part of the span of the previous vector, and that's exactly when these vectors altogether are linearly dependent. Okay, but we don't know when a particular vector is part of the previous vector. So we can have in total 10 vectors, right? But in the case of 10 vectors, we will do this process exactly in the same way. So we add one vector at a time from the beginning, or from the first one, and the second one, and then the third one, and so on. But at some point, for example, like 6 vector, so the vector 6 is finally included in the span of the previous 5 vectors. Okay, and then that's when we can definitely say and finish our problem solving of this problem. Okay, by saying, okay, so without looking at the rest of the vectors, starting from V7 through V10, we don't need to even look at these parts, because we found at least one vector that can be explained by the previous vector. So altogether, V1 through V10, all these vectors can be said as linearly independent. Okay. Okay, so we answered this question, right? So we are given three vectors, and we can determine whether these vectors are linearly independent or not. And then let's look at the second question. So if possible, find the find the linear dependence relationships among V1, V2, and V3. Okay. So what was this linear dependence relationship? So that was the same as finding the solution or non-trivial solutions for these guys, C1 through Cp, which is attached as a linear combination coefficients to the original vector in this vector equation form. Okay, so the linear dependence relationship is actually the same as this guy, or finding out what this C1 through Cp are. Okay. Yeah, and then from this linear equation or vector equation, I'll give you another perspective of looking at this, which is actually coming from these finger things. Okay. So altogether, this one this one can be viewed as, so we mix and match these vectors of V1 through Vp to create zero vectors, right? And then by the non-trivial solution for this guy, what is the non-trivial solution? The meaning of that is that among the C1 through Cp, at least one of them is not zero, right? So in this, we don't know which one is non-zero, but at least one of them from C1 through Cp wouldn't be zero. They will be non-zero, right? But we don't know which one it is, right? But suppose, so it's like this case. So among the 10 vectors, I described one case where the vector 6 is represented as the linear combination of vector 1 through vector 1 through vector 5, right? So in that case, that relationship can be viewed as this. So we can represent vector 5, V5, as some linear combination of V1 and V2 and V5, right? V5, and then this should be V6, because I described when adding the vector 6, we finally found that this guy was included in the previous the span of previous one. So C1 through C5. So this guy, this equation is another very important perspective of this linear dependence relationship. So again, at least one of these coefficients will be non-zero if they are linearly dependent. Okay, and then in that case, at some point or some vector will be described as a linear combination of the previous one. Okay, and then let's try to convert this guy into the second equation. So in this case, it's really trivial manipulation, but this guy can be viewed as this. So C1, V1, dot dot C5 V5 minus V1 V6 equals 0. So it's like minus 1 times V6. So in this case, if we compare this guy with this guy, and then we have C1 through C5, and then suddenly C6 is minus 1, right? And then is this 0 or not? This is not 0, right? So in this case, or this equation is actually equivalent to having the same linear combination coefficient of C1 through C5, and then setting C6 as minus 1, and then the rest of them to be also 0, right? So in that case, two equations are becoming the same, right? So again, the non-trivial solution corresponding to this guy is C1, C2, C5, and minus 1, which corresponds to C6, and then 0, 0, 0. So that will be one of our non-trivial solution, right? So how can we say this guy is non-trivial solution? It is because at least one non-zero in here, right? But can we do that for all the other variables? So is it always possible, or can we always say that? Okay, so we can represent V6 as the linear combination of the previous one. But does it mean that we can also represent, for example, V7 as the linear combination of V1 through V6? Can we say so? It is not, right? It's not the case. So in that case, it's like this. So we had originally 5 vectors, okay? So they are all linearly independent. And then the 6th vector, I mean the vector 6, was unfortunately part of the span of the previous vectors. And then let's move on to V7. But V7 is still possibly not part of the span of the previous vector, right? So V7 will also give its own pivots, or it is not part of the previous vector, right? So in that case, if we think about it as this equation of a linear dependence relationship, we cannot represent V7 as the linear combination of the previous one, of V1 through V6. Although we can do that for V6, but it's not the case for V7, right? So that is yeah. So that is another really important perspective of understanding this relationship. So so in that case, it can be viewed from this equation in this way. So suppose our non-trivial solution, one of the non-trivial solution was something like this: 1, 3, and 2, minus 1, and 0, and 0 and 1. Yeah, 0 and yeah. Zero and 1. Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit long, but yeah, let's think about this. Okay. So in this case, it's slightly different from what I just said, but yeah, it's essentially almost the same. So in this case, suppose that variable, which was represented as a linear combination, which was like V6, was this time it was V4. Okay. So in this case, V4 is represented as x1 plus 3 times x2 plus 2 times x3 plus 1 times x, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 times x6, right? And then what about this? From this equation, can we represent V1 as linear combination of the other? Can we, or yeah? Is it possible or not? No? Okay, let's use our hands. Okay. Possible? Can you raise a hand? Possible? Impossible. 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 Okay. No one? Okay. So the answer is it is possible. Because, let's just look at this mechanically, just purely looking at the equation. So it is like a V1 times 1 plus 3 times V2, and so on. Equals 0, right? Because this one was the solution for the homogeneous linear system of AX equals 0, right? So in this case, we can easily we can easily move this part to the right hand side, and then still, this V1 is existing. So suddenly this guy is becoming an equation where we represent V1 as linear combination of the other. So in this case, V1 is possible to be represented as a linear combination of the other. What about the V2? Is it possible? Yeah, it is possible, right? So basically, this is also existing in this equation, right? So we can easily move the rest of them to the right-hand side, and then just simply divide all the equations by 3. And then that way, V3 can be also represented as a linear combination of the other things, right? So here, then what is not possible for this equation? V5. Okay, because in this equation, originally V5 didn't even exist. Because in this our non-trivial solution, V5 was not part of it, so it was still remaining as 0, right? So that can be viewed from the comparison between these two. So we can change this guy, which was this guy, so that we can represent one variable as a linear combination of the other, but some variable it is possible, but some other variable it is not possible. But still, altogether, like V1 through VP, altogether, if we can find at least one relationship or one representation or one variable that can be represented as the other, and then altogether this set is called linearly dependent. Okay? Okay, and then let's also, let me ask one kind of tricky question. So, so let's remember what exactly the meaning of linear combination was. So in this case, so we were able to represent V6 as a linear combination of the other. But what about this case? V6 is equal to all zeros. So C1 is 0, and C2 is 0, and C5 is 0. So in that case, can we still say this guy is linearly dependent or not? So these, again, we were able to obtain this equation, but unfortunately, I'm not sure if it's an unfortunate or not, but all these coefficients to represent V6 was all 0. Okay, so in that case, can we still say that as linearly dependent or not? And then this question boils down to the following question. So when the linear combination coefficients are all 0, and then can we still say that as linear combination of the vectors? Yes or no? 자, 다시 한번 한국말로 이야기하면 리니어 컨비네이션 뭔지 알죠? 근데 리니어 컨비네이션 코에피션트가 다 0이에요. 다 0. 다 0일 때 나타나는 결과, 이것도 우리가 리니어 컨비네이션이라고 부르나요? 아니면 부르지 않나요? 부른다. Yes or no? Okay. Yeah, so it's still called as a linear combination. Okay? So it doesn't matter even if we set all 0 as the linear combination coefficient. Okay? So that is still called one special case of a linear combination. And then let's think about what the resulting vector is. So what is the resulting vector when setting all the linear combination coefficient as 0? Just a 0 vector, right? So that way, zero vector was always in the span of at least one vector, right? Because we can simply set the linear combination coefficient as 0, and then we always obtain zero vector as part of our span, right? So that way, this is still a valid linear combination representation, even if all these are 0, okay? But at the same time, in this case, what is the resulting vector, V6? It will be just as all 0 vectors, right? So it gives us another kind of interesting information. So I give you 10 vector, okay, and then among the 10 vector, one of them was just all 0 vector. So among your set of vectors, you saw all 0 vector, and then as a whole, this set of vectors are linearly dependent, because we can always represent this 0 vector as linear combination of the other, right? So we can at least always, we can always find at least one representation for this guy, when this guy is 0 vector, right? So this interesting relationship. So I'm gonna say this again. So if your set of vector includes or contains 0 vector, and then it's just becomes it's just becoming linearly dependent. From the beginning. Questions so far? 네.
여기 아니면 그 호모지니어스 폼이 있었대요. 그래서 논호모지니어스 폼이 있었고 그 호모지니어스 폼의 그 값을 알아요. 그러면 그거를 통해서 어떻게 그 트랜스레이션 할 수 있는 거예요?
그러니까 그런 어떤 파티큘러 솔루션, 그러니까 뭐 한 점을 지나는 그 단서가 전혀 없을 때요? 네? 전혀 없을 때? 네. 아까 그 띠어랑 관련해갖고. 그러니까 아무 단서가 없으면요, 그냥 사실 호모지니어스 이퀘이션을 따로 놓고 이걸 푼 다음에 이쪽에 갖고 와서 한 점을 또 찾아서 이렇게 대입하고 이렇게 짓은 안 하고요. 그냥 AX 이퀄 B를 그냥 여러분들이 하던 대로 어그멘티브 매트리스는 A와 B를 가지고 그렇게 해요. 근데 그렇지만 중요한 거는 Okay, so the question is, how can we obtain one particular solution, especially related to the theorem that we learned in the previous chapter? This guy, okay? So in this case, I described it as, so we first obtain this kind of a slope equivalent part from the homogeneous linear system, and then we bring one particular solution from this non-homogeneous equation of AX equals B, right? And then we just add them together, and then that will complete our solution for this non-homogeneous linear system. But typically, when you have no information about what this particular solution P is, I mean, just the usual case is I'll just give you A and B, right? So there is no information like the particular solution P there in that case, right? So in that case, you have to just solve AX equals B just by constructing the augmented matrix A and B, right? So it's really going in the same way. But once you've obtained the final solution as kind of a parametric representation, just like this guy, okay? So this actually was obtained by just constructing this augmented matrix. So we didn't even think about homogeneous version of the equation. We just started right away with this original AX equals B. So this augmented matrix is that, right? And then we changed it to reduced echelon form, and then by moving the free variables to the right, we obtained that part, right? That part. But conceptually, since we now understand the relationship between homogeneous and non-homogeneous equations, So this part can be viewed as one particular solution passing through that non-homogeneous linear system, and then this part will be actually the same solution of your homogeneous version of the system, right? So we can kind of understand these two parts in that manner, right? So that is kind of a important or key understanding from this equation. I mean this theorem. This, okay. Okay, so let's get back to this question, which is really simple. So if possible, the question is to find the linear dependent relations between V1 through V3. Then yeah, so this is our echelon form, right? Then let's see, we have, okay, so this is our reduced echelon form. So in this case, this, and then this part is corresponding to A, right? And this part is corresponding to 0 part, which comes from AX equals 0, right? Because in the case of linear independence or dependence, we think about this homogeneous version of the linear system, right? So in this case, once we reconstruct them into this equation form, and then it's represented in this way, and then what we do here is that we move these free variables to the right, right? Then we can construct vector x1, x2, and x3 in this form of so let's think about just a factored form of these guys. So it will be 2, and what would the value be here? What is the value here? Yeah, minus 1. And then 0? Is it? 네, 1이죠. So it should be 1, right? Because x2 equals minus x3. But what about x3? x3 equals just x3, right? So that was one small trick when we obtained the parametric vector form, right? So x3 is just x3, so it can be factored into this form, right? So here there are infinitely many solutions, so they are definitely linearly independent. Linearly dependent. And then when we have to find the linear dependence relationship, and then this solution 2 minus 1 or 1 will be one of our solution or coefficient satisfying C1, V1 times C2, V2 plus C3, V3 equals 0, right? And then if we plug this guys into this form, and then it's giving you one of the linear dependence relationship, right? So that's the answer. But we have a freedom, of course, to choose x3 to whatever values that we can set, right? It can be like 5 or minus 5 or 2 and so on, right? So in this particular case, let's say, so among so many values, suppose we set the x3 as 5, and then these linear combination coefficient will become 10 minus 5 and 5. So that is another answer, right, for the linear dependence relationship. Okay, and then let's check out these 3 bullets, which says about some properties of this linear independence or dependence. A set containing only one vector. So our set is composed of only one vector, and then we can still think about their case of linearly dependence or independence. Okay, so if we only have one vector, And then still, the definition of the linear independence or dependence is the same. So, so this is our vector equation. So we have to find a non-trivial solution for this equation to say this guy is linearly dependent, right? So if we can find a non-trivial solution, and then this is going to be linearly dependent, right? So in that case, we only have one coefficient. So there is, so it is only way to set this one as non-zero, right? Non-zero to have non-trivial solution, right? So if we have a vector of c's, and then at least one of them should be non-zero, but we only have one, right? So and then that guy should be non-zero, yeah. So if that's the case, in order to satisfy this equation, the only way to make this guy true is that v1 is completely a zero vector, right? And then, although this one looks really simple, but this one is this form. So c1 times vector v1, for example, 0 times 3. So suppose this guy was our v1, okay? And then it should be vector 0, right? 0 vector, right? So it's like a little bit, detailed form of this vector equation, right? Because v1 and 0 here are both vectors, right? So in this case, for whatever value, for any value for c1, we cannot satisfy this equation, right? So that means if this guy is not 0, and then this part should be all 0, which means our vector v1 should be completely 0 vector, right? So we can conclude that if our set of vector has only one vector, and then if that set is linearly dependent, and then it means that one vector is just a 0 vector. There is no other way. Okay? So it means, conversely, if we have one non-zero vector, okay, we have only one vector which is not 0, and then it's of course linearly independent, right? Okay, so that is about these 3 bullets in here. So let's think about the second case where we have only two vectors in our set. So we know that among these two vectors, if we see 0 vectors between these two, and then we can immediately say that this guy is linearly dependent, right? So we already learned that 0 vector contained there makes this whole set as just linearly dependent, right? So let's think about the case where both of two vectors are not 0 vectors. None of these vectors are not 0 vectors. So none of these vectors are 0 vectors. So these are all non-zero vectors. So in that case, it's just a typical case of these fingers. So one vector is in this form, and then another vector is not part of this line, and then they are still linearly dependent because this guy was not explained by the first one, right? So what about the case of linear dependence between these two? The second vector should be part of the first vector, right? And then let's just write this relationship using an equation. That equation should be in this form. V2 is part of V1, which means this guy, right? V2 is a scalar multiple of V1. So that's the way for the second vector to be included in the first vector. Right? Okay, so that is this one. So if they are linearly dependent, if at least one of the vectors is a scalar multiple of the other, which is exactly saying this guy. Okay? And then, let's think about the things that we learned in this part, okay? Although the slide is different, but yeah, we thought about these two different versions of the equation. So in this case, so suppose this guy was true because they were linearly dependent. But in this case, is it possible to represent in this form? Which means, so we learned that among our vector set, among many vectors that we have in our set, some of them can be represented as a linear combination of the other, but it's not always the case. So some other variables cannot be represented as a linear combination of the other. Right? So that was corresponding to x5 in this, let's see, in this example, right? So this guy was just having 0. So this guy was not even existing in this form of an equation, right? So in this case, we cannot even represent V5 as the linear combination of the other, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. So in this case, we have two vectors, right? So suppose the second vector was able to be represented as a linear combination of the first one, but is it the case? The first one is also represented as the linear combination of the other. Is it true or is it always possible or not? 어떨 것 같아요? 질문 이해했어요? 질문 이해했나요? 그러니까 아까도 봤듯이 우리가 V가 10개가 있다, 벡터가 10개가 있다 그러면 어떤 하나를 골라 잡아서 나머지 거의 리니어 컨비네이션으로 나타낼 수가 있었는데 그게 그런 관계를 딱 하나만이라도 찾을 수 있으면 그거는 이 전체 셋이 리니어리 디펜던트 해진다 그랬죠. 그죠? 근데 그게 10개를 다 하나하나 뽑아서 나머지들을 가지고 리니어 컨비네이션을 나타낼 수 있다는 걸 의미하는 건 아니에요. 그죠? 이게 항상 가능하진 않아요. 모든 베리어블에 대해서. 어떤 거는 그렇게 나타낼 수 없어요. 네. 그럼 이제는 우리의 셋이 2개만 있어요, 벡터가. 그런데 지금 두 번째 벡터는 첫 번째 걸로 리니어 컨비네이션을 나타낼 수 있다고 하는 거를 우리가 찾았어요. 근데 이 경우 나머지 또 다른 하나 벡터, 남은 벡터 하나 있죠. V1. V1도 나머지 애들의 리니어 컨비네이션을 나타낼 수 있느냐. 이게 항상 가능하냐. 2개의 벡터만 있을 때가 이게 퀘스천이에요. 네. 가능하지 않다? 가능하지 않다? Not possible. Okay, possible. Always possible. Okay, so yeah, the answer is always possible. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, let me show this. Okay, so there should be one assumption, which is these two vectors are not zero. Okay, so that's one assumption that we start with because we kind of excluded that situation from the beginning, right? In that situation, so V1 and V3 are not zero vectors. So in that case, can this value, so from this equation, C1, can this value be 0? No, it's not, because if this is 0, then it tells us V2 is 0. Right? So this one shouldn't be 0. So let's say it's like 3. Okay? V2 is equal to 3V1. Then I'm going to ask you if it's possible to represent V1 equals some amount of V2. It's so easy, right? It's 1 over 3. Right?
벡터가 3개면
네.
3개고 그 평면을 만들면 그러면 얘네들은 서로 다 컨비네이션 될 것 같아요.
3개요? 3개는 그렇지 않아요. 네. 그렇지 않아요. 이거 설명할게요. So you understood this guy. It's so trivial, right? So in this case, if two vectors are not zero, so none of them are zero vectors. Okay? So in this case, if they are linearly dependent, and then the second one is part of the first one, which means the second vector is represented as the scalar multiple of the first vector, right? and then it automatically means the first vector is also the scalar multiple of the second vector. By how much? It was 3 times of the first vector, and then the second one is 1 over 3 times of the other vector, right? So from this equation, okay? Okay. So yeah, overall, in this special case of having 2 vectors, the linear dependence is equivalent to the case where the 2 vectors are along the same line, which means this guy. One of the vector is a scalar multiple of the other. Okay, and then the student asked the question where we have 3 vectors. What about the case where we have 3 vectors? But our gut feeling or our intuition, I mean, to me at least, the answer should be no. So the answer should be it is not always possible, right? I mean, that's kind of our feeling, right? Not sure if that's my own, only my feeling, but at least that's my feeling. Now let's try to prove that, okay? Let's try to think about when the case where among the 3, we cannot represent one of them as the linear combination of the other, okay? Yeah, can you explain or describe? Can you find out one such case? 하나가 0벡터? 네, 0벡터. 근데 0벡터는 좀 너무 쉬우니까 우리가. 0벡터는 모든 거를 너무
치고 2개가 겹치고
네, 맞아요. 네, 맞아요. 지금 그게 answer예요. So, so let's think about this case. So we have 3 vectors, right? So definitely this guy is linearly independent because they are pointing out all the different directions. But let's think about so in general, let's see. So we have these 2 vectors, and then the third vector is part of this plane of the 2 vectors, right? So that's typical case where these linear dependence relationship is revealed, right? So in this case, the third vector is represented as a linear combination of these 2, right? But let's think about another special case. This guy is exactly along one of the previous vectors. So in this case, one vector is just a scalar multiple of the other, one of the other 2. Okay. So in this case, 2 vectors are exactly along the same line, and then this vector is pointing out the different directions. Okay. So in this case, which vector can not be represented as a linear combination of the other among these 3? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, which one? 3, right? Yeah. This guy cannot be at all represented as a linear combination of these 2, right? Because these 2 are essentially just explaining one direction, and this guy is not in that direction. Right? So in that case, even though these 3 vectors are linearly dependent, but one of them at least cannot be represented as a linear combination of the other 2. But still, in this case, still one vector at least is represented as a linear combination of the other, right? Which one? 1, 2, 3. Which one can be represented as a linear combination of the other? 1 and 2, yeah. 1 or 2 or 1 and 2. So for example, this vector is represented as a linear combination only using this guy, right? So that is still a linear combination of using these 2 by setting the linear combination of the third one to be 0, right? So because we can find at least one relationship such that one of our vector is represented as a linear combination of the other. So if we can find at least one case like this, and then it's it's sufficient to say, it's enough to say set of these 3 vectors are linearly dependent. Okay? Okay. Okay, and then let's look at the theorem 7. So, Yeah, major part of this theorem is already explained. Okay, so it's about the characteristics of linearly dependent set. So given a set, if and only if, which means, so the previous sentence and the later sentence is equivalent thing, right? So that is the meaning of if and only if, right? And then the second sentence is at least one vector in S can be represented as a linear combination of the other, right? That's exactly what we just thought about in this class, right? Then let's look at the second bullet. In fact, if S is linearly dependent, and then somehow this guy is kind of an important part. Our first vector v1 is non-zero vector, okay? And then for some vj, okay, which is more than one, is linear combination of the preceding vectors of v1 through vj, vj1. Okay, so this is actually really, yeah, this is exactly the same as this finger thing. Okay, so when thinking about this linearly independence or dependence, so we thought about the scenario where we gradually add one vector at a time, right? So suppose I give you like 100,000 of vectors, right? So we have so many vectors, right? So it seems to be really frustrating, and seems to be really impossible to handle, or like, we construct our matrix A in this augmented matrix form using 100,000 of column vectors. So it will take forever to just write down all the hundreds of thousands of vectors, right? But fortunately, we still have a hope to determine whether they are linearly dependent or independent. Okay, how? We can gradually add one vector at a time and see if a particular vector can be represented using a previous one. So in that case, if we are really lucky, even though we have so many vectors, okay, but suddenly like a third vector or fourth vector is already a linear combination of the previous vectors. And then we don't even need to look at the rest of the vectors to be able to say this is a linearly dependent. Okay? So that situation is mainly what the second part is about. Okay? So suppose v1 is not zero vector, because if this guy is zero vector, suddenly we can immediately say that this set of vectors are linearly dependent, because this is zero vector, right? And so let's think about a little bit more interesting case where this guy is not zero. So the first vector is not zero, and then using only the first vector, we already know that when we only consider just one vector, and then if this guy is not zero, and then this guy, by having only one vector, we know this guy is still linearly independent. Okay, and then let's consider the second one, and then the third one, and fourth one, and so on. Just like just by doing what we did to determine whether the current vector is explained by the previous vector. So from at least the second vector, we try to represent that as a linear combination of the preceding vector, right? So the first one and then the second one, this one cannot be represented as a linear combination of this. So still, we don't know they are linearly dependent. But the third one, this one is still not part of this, and so up to the third one, they are still linearly independent. But suddenly, after adding the fourth one, then they are part of the previous vector, right? In that case, we can definitely say that all these vectors are linearly dependent, and that's when we can actually stop, right? out of like hundreds of thousands of vectors. Right? So that is about this theorem. Okay, and then it's the time's up. So we will briefly go through the proof, like a formal mathematical proof of this theorem. But I believe you guys have enough conceptual understanding and intuitive understanding about this, what this tells us. Okay. Yeah. So that's it for today, and let's meet next Tuesday. 네, 수고했어요.
벡터들 집합 있잖아요.
네.
그게 리니얼리 인디펜던트하다는 거는 결국에는 그러면 전체적인 그러니까 공간을 다 가리킬 수 있다는 말이에요. 그러니까
그거랑 조금
이거랑 아예 논외의 문제예요. 그러니까 다른 문제는
이 벡터들이 설명하는 공간, 설명하는 전체 스페이스, 즉 스팬이죠. 스팬이 있잖아요. 그 스팬 안에 리던던트가 있는 없냐라는 어떤 뜻이에요. 리던던트가 저기 중복되는. 그러니까 이게 우리가 이렇게 있었고 또 다른 하나가 이야기에 포함이 됐다라면 그때도 이야기했듯이 이러면 난트리비얼 솔루션을 가지게 돼요. 즉 그건 무슨 소리냐면 이 평면 안에 어떤 한 점을 잡아요. 그러면 두 개만 있었을 때는, 그러니까 우리가 사용할 수 있는 벡터 두 개만 있었을 때는요, 이게 어떤 군더더기가 없어요. 그러니까 중복되는 게 없이 이 점을 언제나 유니크하게 하나의 표현형으로 나타낼 수가 있어요. 근데 하나가 여기 더 끼어 있다. 그럼 여기에서부터 리넌던스가 발생이 돼요. 그러니까 이게 리니얼리 디펜던트, 인디펜던트를 이런 식으로 이야기를 하진 않았지만 결국은 똑같은 케이스예요. 얘네들이 그러니까 10개의 벡터가 있으면 10개의 벡터가 설명을 하고 있는 이 공간을 설명하기 위해 그 공간 내에 있는 어떤 하나하나의 점들을 이 10개를 가지고 설명할 때 그 설명할 수 있는 방법이 굉장히 여러 개가 존재할 수 있느냐 아니면 유일하게 하나의 설명법만 존재하느냐 약간 그렇게 이해를 할 수가 있어요.
그게 그러니까 인디펜던트 하면은 그 여러 가지 설명이 되는 거면
아니요. 리니얼리 인디펜던트 하면 중복된 게 전혀 없는 거예요. 반대죠.
반대구나.
리니얼리 인디펜던트 하면 한 점을 무조건 하나의
딱 유니크하게 표현할 수
있는데
있는데 그게 아니면은 알겠습니다.
벡터 두 개 있을 때요. 왜 한쪽이 그 리니어 콤비네이션으로 펴있으면 다른 쪽은 안 돼요?
다른 쪽이 항상 된다라고 아까 얘기했어요.
왜 항상 돼요?
왜 항상 되냐고요?
0벡터를
맞아요. 그러니까 0벡터가 있으면 지금 이야기한 것처럼 한쪽은 돼도 한쪽은 안 되는 상황이 발생이 돼요. 근데 그게 내가 조금 클리어하지 않았다면 좀 미안하지만 그 처음에 0벡터가 되면 우리가 누구로 나타내고 자시고 할 것도 없이 이 두 개의 벡터로 이루어진 셋은 리니얼리 디펜던트하다는 것도 바로 이야기할 수 있어요. 그죠? 근데 두 개가 0벡터가 어느 누구도 0벡터가 아니라면 그렇다면 하나를 딴 데로 표현할 수 있다면 반대를 또 표현할 수가 있다는 그런 이유입니다.
그러니까 0벡터를 제일 처음에 제외한 거예요.
제외했을 때를 배우는 거예요. 네.
숙제 이렇게 샘플에 올려서
You submitted it to Blackboard?
네.
Okay, can you send an email saying just submit it online, okay? Yeah. Is there your homework?
Yeah.
Huh? Over there. But over there.
Just put it like, because I only have 4 words, so just put it.
Yeah. You put your name, right? Yeah.
제가 결석이 있는지 확인하고 싶어요.
결석이요?
네네.
오늘 출석 체크 안 했어요?
그럼
지난번에?
네, 혹시 제 이론을 봤는데 제가 한번 보세요. 왜냐하면 제가 인문대에서 여기서 왔어요. 그래서 그 퇴 신청한 적이 없어서 혹시 이런 거
글쎄요. 근데 그거를 지금 체크해 줄 수는 없어요. 그때 당일날 이야기하지 않았으면. 네.
Professor, is it kind of possible to make an personal appointment just to really for me to ask like some question?
Sure.
Like regarding like some materials.
Sure, of course.
Yeah. So should I just like email you?
Yeah. Let's set up an appointment. Yeah.
Alright, thanks.
네.
그래서요.
네.
여기서 그분 옆에 섹스가 있어야잖아요.
그러니까 이 표현은요,
네.
C6가 없는 표현이죠, 그죠? 근데 원래 오리지널 그 이 폼은 C6가 있죠, 그죠?
네.
그게 차이예요. 그러니까 무슨 소리냐면, 이거는 C6가, 그러니까 여기서 C6가
네.
0이 아니었을 때 이걸 만들 수 있어요. C6로
네.
나눠준 거였어요. 근데 여기서 C6가 0이면 이런 폼을 우리가 만들 수조차 없게 돼요.
네.
그죠?
네.
네.
그래서 여기 안에 C6가 여기 앞에 있을 텐데
0이 아닌 C6요? 아니, 그러니까 0이 아닌 C6가 있었으면, 0이 아닌 C6가 있었다면,
네, 네.
걔를 그러니까 쉽게 그냥 나누면 되는 거잖아요.
네.
그죠? 그러면 그냥 V6 equals something. 그러니까,
그렇구나.
네, 그래요. 여기에 있는 C1과 여기에 있는 C1은 다른 C1이에요. 네, 그러니까 같은 C1은 아니에요. 왜냐하면 지금 이야기한 것처럼 C6가 여기 있었을 거고, 근데 단지 걔가 non-zero였을 거고요.
네.
그걸 나눴다면 어떤 값들이 붙겠죠. 네. 네, 그거는 좀 클리어하지가 않았네요, 내가. 네.
네. 감사합니다.
네. 네, 수고했어요.
전학생 감사합니다.
네. 네. 네.
이거가 P가 뭔지 다시 말씀.
아, P요? 그러니까 이거를 만족하는 솔루션이 있겠죠. 근데 그게 하나 있을 수도 있고 여러 개가 있을 수도 있어요.
네.
근데 일단은 솔루션이 없지는 않대요. 컨시스턴트 하대요.
네.
솔루션이 무조건 하나 이상은 있다고 해요. 그게 우리 처음 가정이고요. 이 디어그램에.
네.
그 다음에 그러면 그게 하나 있는지 굉장히 많은 수의 솔루션이 있는지는 모르지만 어찌됐건 누가 하나를 줬다라고 한번 가정을 해보자고요. 그리고 그 솔루션 하나가 이 P예요. 이렇게? 그러면 이제는 우리가 이거의 솔루션을 그냥 이거의 전체 모든 솔루션을 다 나타내고자 하기 위해서
네.
그렇게 하기 위해서는 우리가 어떻게 할 수 있냐면 homogeneous linear system으로부터 나온 솔루션인 VH 그러니까 AX equals 0로부터 나온 VH들을
네.
이것들이랑 거기다가 그게 그러니까 어떤 쉽게 말하면 원점을 지나는 어떤 그 라인 같은 놈이었는데 직선이었는데요. 그게 이 P만큼 평행이동을 이렇게 하는 거. 그러니까 그 말은 이 평행이동을 하고 난 그 직선 위의 모든 점들이 다 AX equal B의 솔루션이 된다는 뜻이에요.
아, 얘가 뭐라고요?
아, 예, 요거 VH가 그러니까 모든 솔루션 of the homogeneous equation AX equals 0. 그러니까 이거에서의 솔루션을 모조리 다 우리가 찾은 다음에 어떻게 찾았냐 하면 우리가 그 에슐론 폼 만들고 프리 베리어블 저쪽으로 넘겨서 파라메트릭 벡터 폼으로 만들기 위해서 팩터 아웃 하잖아요. 그러니까 그만큼이 요 VH예요. 왜냐면 그게 이거의 솔루션이니까.
근데 이거랑 그럼 이거랑 다른 거네요?
아, 요 VH는 여기서 나온 솔루션. VH는 AX equals 0에서부터 나온 그 파라메트릭 벡터 폼으로 나타내지는 솔루션 그 부분을 의미해요.
네.
근데 우리가 원래 풀어야 되는, 이 문제에서 지금 풀어야 되는 건 AX equals B에서의 솔루션을 풀어야 되는 거잖아요.
네.
그러면 얘 솔루션은 어떻게 나타낼 수 있냐? 이 AX equals 0에서 나온 그 솔루션이랑 어떤 누가, 다행히도 한 솔루션을 하나 줬다면 그냥 여기에다가 심플리 그냥 이것만 더해주어서 나타내진 이 전체 솔루션이 얘 솔루션이 된다는 거고요. 이게 지오메트릭하게는 얘가 가리키는 이 VH, 얘에 해당하는 모든 솔루션이 이런 식의 라인으로 나타내졌다면 여기다가 누가 준 이 솔루션인 P, 이 P만큼을 이렇게 옮기는 거예요. 그랬을 때 나온 역시 평행한 라인이 나올 거고 그 평행한 라인 안에 모든 점들이 AX equal B에서의 솔루션이 된다는 거예요.
네. 하나만 더.
네.
linearly dependent 한다는 게 무슨 뜻인가요?
리니어리 디펜던트 하다는 게 그게 그러니까 뭐 이런 뭐 손가락으로 이야기한 것처럼 그러니까 어느 벡터가 다른 애들로 표현이 가능할 때
이게 겹치는 게 있다고 말씀하신
그렇죠.
거 아니에요?
네, 겹치는 게 있으면 그러니까 예를 들면 손가락 두 개가 이렇게 있으면 하나의 손가락이 이거가 나타낼 수 있는 평면 안에 쏙 들어왔을 때 세 번째 벡터가 이러면 이게 리니어리 디펜던트한 거예요.
네.
왜냐하면 이 벡터 최소한 이 벡터가 이 두 개의 리니어 콤비네이션으로 나타낼 수 있으니까.
근데 여기에는 다 원점 지나는 거 아니에요?
원점은 지나죠?
그러면 항상 만약에 모든 게 다 원점 지나면 겹치는 거 아니에요?
네? 아니, 이건 아니죠. 이건. 그러니까 이렇게 되면 이 벡터는 이 두 개의 벡터가 설명할 수 있는 이 플레인에
네.
포함이 안 돼 있죠.
네.
그럼 얘는 이 두 개로 죽었다 깨다도 나타낼 수 없어요.
네.
얘네들이 나타낼 수 있는 건 오로지 그러니까 이 평면일 뿐이니까.
네.
그죠? 이 경우는 그래서 제 벡터가 리니얼리 인디펜던트한 경우예요, 여전히.
네.
네.
마지막으로
네, 그래요.
이게 두꺼운 거면 찾는 걸 아까 전에도 AX
네.
이게 뭐 B였잖아요.
네.
이게 두께가 두꺼우면
두께가 두껍다?
그러니까-
이렇게 길다?
아니요 두께가
아, 네, 볼드
두꺼?
폰트. 네,
네.
볼드 폰트. 네.
그럼 이거는 그냥 일반 숫자고 이거 어떤
아,
게
아니요.
배려예요?
아, 그러니까 베리어블이냐 아니냐는요. 우리가 그러니까 숫자가 알고 있는 숫자를 줘야되느냐 아니면 우리가 풀어야 되는 x1, x2 이런 거냐
네.
이거의 문제고요. 아, 이 노테이션 상에서는 이게 소문자이구나. 대문자면 그게 뭐 베리어블이었든 아니면 어떤 뭐 그러니까 모르는 밸류가 있든 없든 그게 중요한 건 아니고
네.
대문자로 나타내는 거는 매트릭스라는 걸 의미해요. 이렇게
어,
직사각형의 숫자의 세트.
네.
그 다음에 소문자면 걔가 그 두꺼운 폰트로 써져 있으면
네.
그거는 벡터를 의미해요. 즉 이렇게 세로로 길쭉한 벡터를 의미해요.
네.
이렇게 그 다음에는 걔가 볼드가 아닌 그냥 플레인 폰트, 그러니까 얇은 폰트인데 소문자인데 얇은 폰트다. 그러면
네.
스케일러를 의미해요.
이런
숫자
거요?
하나. 그렇죠. 여기서도 지금 0이 이 자세히 0이 보면 이게 진하잖아요.
네.
그러니까 이건 벡터예요. 0으로 이루어진. 여기서도 B1과 BP가 얘네들은 다 이렇게 길쭉하게 생긴 벡터고요. 여기서 그 볼드 폰트가 아닌 C1 through CP는 그냥 스케일러예요.
아 그럼 이거 반대로 쓰는 거네요, 저는.
이렇게
이거
쓴 게
세로로
그러니까 이 V가 이게 벡터들이에요. 이게 지금 이게 이렇게 길쭉한 애들이에요.
아.
예, 이렇게 얄쌍하게 썼지만 이거 하나는 벡터로 이루어진 애들이고, 예, 그 다음에 이게 그러니까 X들을 이 오른쪽에 가서 이렇게 세로 벡터를 만들어서 붙이면 이 매트릭스 이거를 풀어서 쓰면 이게 나온다. 이걸 우리가 배운 게 그 저기 매트릭스 이퀘이션 1.3 챕터 1.3이었나요? 거기서 이제 그런 내용을 배운 거.
네.
네.
감사합니다.
네, 수고했어요.